Takagi-san is not back yet. Okay. Right.
What are we going to do?
So we're going. We already looked at the Middle Ages, right?
No,
And Black Death. Yep. Renaissance finished. Enlightenment. And we were in the process of the Industrial Revolution. This is a long one. We already saw part of it, so I will recap and finish it. You want to wait for Takagi-san or?
Yeah, we'll wait for him.
Oh, I brought it after all. I thought I didn't bring it. I did bring my notebook. I'm studying a lot about your.
Oh, you're studying a lot?
So.
Great.
And yeah, no, it's very interesting. Actually, I met yesterday Ishizaki-san. Ishizaki-san, he is also reads your blog, Toka. So he follows you.
Who he is?
Ishizaki-san, he has been once. He's member of my Toastmasters group. He actually he was talking. We were talking about corporate governance in Japan, and he actually says, well, that basically corporate governance in Japan is almost a reflection of how the Tang dynasty in China was organized, and if you look at corporate governance today in Japan, we were talking about Toshiba. He says, well, basically the CEOs of Japanese companies, they cannot be touched. It's almost like the way that the military was organized prior to World War II.
Japanese?
Yeah, so there is for example a very close connection between the secretary of Abe and the management of Toshiba. So that basically corporate governance in Japan is very weak. But he said, well, actually, what you should do is you should look at Hitachi, which is a kind of an exception to that rule. They have a completely different corporate governance. So he has been studying a lot about this.
Hitachi is more advanced.
Right.
Toshiba is very similar to TEPCO.
Right. So Toshiba really arienai. So the accounting scandal after accounting scandal, but still they cannot improve their corporate culture. It's really unbelievable.
It means just their organization is structured, but high hierarchical structure,
Right.
but actually not governed, not managed well.
What he also said actually is that the reason why Toshiba bought Westinghouse was also largely inspired by the political, like the secretary of Abe.
Oh, but first of all, the major problem is Toshiba, none of those has responsibility for how to manage their company.
Right.
So Westinghouse, if we're going to consider, I'm going to take responsibility to handle Westinghouse, I 100% for sure, I said no.
Right.
But nobody take responsibility. Even if outside pressure is coming through them, they need to consider for the Westinghouse situation, what's going on.
Right.
But nobody check it. Okay, where Abe secretary asked them to buy, and top president is going to ask them to check it, and nobody against him, then no responsibility. TEPCO is the same. TEPCO is also why the accident happened, but this is also the naked king. Toshiba is a naked king, so they just disappeared. It's, in Japan, no problem. Toshiba, like a TEPCO, they should disappear. We don't hurt. Japan never have hurt disappearing for those companies. Sony or Hitachi, or still, just good company survive. I don't know. Do you know nothing? Do you know anything about this Mr. Son? He organized $100 billion.
Unbelievable, the biggest investment fund in the world by far.
$100 billion fund they created that already started to invest money. This is largest in the world. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but there was a little bit of a. I read. I don't really remember what the finer nuance, but I read there was a bit of a shadow over that investment fund.
This is Saudi Arabia king invested. Salman invested. And I don't know what's going on. But currently IT industry is very good booming. But if economy is declining, they will cause problem. But if this situation is going, it's got a big money.
Well, it is huge.
And also, he's kind of also. I have recently finalizing American democracy, is especially Trump. And
Oligarchy.
I recognize, I understand. He's super management person. How to manage companies. He's super person. But no leader. He's not a leader. But
I have today I prepared a very interesting article from the New Yorker about Trump.
what he said.
Make a parallel between Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany and Donald Trump.
What do you mean?
Well, Kaiser Wilhelm was one of the reasons why World War I happened.
Who he is? I don't know.
Well, I will tell you. He was the German Kaiser, the German emperor during World War II. And he created a lot of animosity with he was cousins with the Tsar Nicholas, and he was also cousins with
Russian emperor?
yeah. But he and who else? From France, I think. But he always insulted those people. It was very bad in building up relationships. And he constantly pissed people off, and he constantly changed his mind, and he didn't read, didn't prepare. He wasn't very unqualified as a person.
Do you know that Trump wrote a book, Big Think? He wrote a book, Big Think, bestseller, and I read the summarized version. He did very well. He's just very persuasive, and hire him, and he just asked for the make presentation. Is how much money? $1 million, and he's very famous.
Was it the Big Thing? There's another book. It was kind of a
8 hours recording, but I don't have a time spent for 8 hours, so I didn't listen to his book. But he said very good, skill for how to manage, how to think big, how to challenge, how to take risks.
I think big.
Sort of things. He's very
actually, there's a lot of controversy about it, because actually he didn't write it; somebody else wrote it. No?
Yeah, it's okay, but he just make a speech himself.
Right.
But he's a very good speaker. And problem is he just try to get profit, not the benevolence. Okay,
Right.
not the leader. He doesn't concern about people's happiness.
Right.
He just get more rich,
Right.
especially he himself. How to get he himself get more rich? Yeah, the countries get more rich,
Right.
and people get happiness. Forget it. I don't care.
Mm.
Racist? No, I'm racist.
Yeah.
And he is good management. It means good management. Okay, he can how to manage company, to how to get money, right? And never give up. Okay, just stick to it. That's a person. But unfortunately, she is not a politician. Politician is considered for people to be happy. Okay,
Right.
to the people, by the people, for the people. He don't care about that. Okay, I'm authoritarian. I'm leading everything. Okay, I'm a company owner. I'm a country owner. You need to follow me. This sort of type of person. This is a terrible situation. But I studied them. I read a lot of material. And the conclusion is, problem is, nobody take him out. Nobody take him out.
That was actually the conclusion of the article of the New Yorker. I said, well, actually, you can take him out, but it will not resolve the problem. The problems are already being caused right now. Taking him out later on, like it was Kaiser Wilhelm, basically, after things really got heated, he was brushed aside, and he fled to Doorn. He had a castle in Doorn in the Netherlands, where he lived, and I worked my weekend in summer jobs at the restaurant on that around that castle. Sorry?
What is that?
He had a castle in Doorn in the Netherlands, and he fled after basically.
You're talking about World War One?
Yeah, World War One. Yeah.
So problem is he never thinking about their people. People's happiness.
Right.
He is thinking about he himself and his country, how
Right.
to get much more money. That's it. And this result is might be no democracy. Okay, it's just it take longer. Their country get more miserable. But no way to take him out. This is a problem. This is American democracy pitfall. They don't know. This never thought about like
This
that.
is what like actually the philosophers like Socrates. I think it was Socrates. I think it was Socrates who actually he designed democracy not to be right for everybody to vote, because
Okay. This is Socrates
not-
is right, and I spent 1 year for writing a book for democracy. Democracy definition is not by the people. Voting by people is useless. But
people
what
need
is the
to-
democracy means? Okay, this is how many
You
people.
also saw it in the Roman Empire, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. This is just the reason why I refer to Roman Empire. So my definition of democracy is how many people feel happy. Okay, the citizens feel happy. If a majority of people feel happy, is democracy is stable. This is one judgment, happy or not. So my always question is how come Roman Empire continues for the happy situation? How many years? That like Western Roman Empire, you said 400 years. Eastern Europe, Roman Empire, 1,000 years. And then how they're going to keep those people to keep happiness? This is very my concern. In the world, okay, it's going on. America will prosper because of Trump. Get a lot of money and lots of solve the deficit, but problem is I'm going to have a question for you. What for? Right? What for? Okay, just you going to rebalancing the deficit. Then what for?
But Trump is not balancing his deficit; he's growing like crazy.
No. What I'm talking about balancing means trade balancing. He can trade balancing, very good skill to deal in business. Okay, pressure to China changed their mind. Okay, they changed mind. Okay, I'm going to decide to buy American product. They said, okay, we're going to open their industry to the American company. They did. They changed actually, right? So it means improving deficit balance, not zero clear, but like kind of 1/3 or 2/3 they will attain. At this point is very looks fine, but my question is what for? Okay, it's a supply chain management and manufacturing so forth. Yeah, he tried to pushing them to improve something else, but what for? Why he's doing that? Okay, America get the profit, GDP growth. Yes, but so what? Problem is, my opinion is, no. Politics is how people keep them happy, right? Happy. This is China the same, America the same, all over the world the same. How keep them happy? But Trump's action is not keep them happy. We got more rich, okay, and we're going to give you more ticket for poor people, but they are not feel happy. How about the healthcare? How about the education? How about living environment? How about climate change? Terrible. So how are you going to handle your country? How do you think about your people? Right? But he's going to lie the blue collar white people. And okay, we're going to give you job. Maybe he can give them job infrastructure development, right? It will take a couple of years, 3 years. He does not. He just keep his lying secret, right? But this is not true democracy. This is my conclusion. But he's many people misunderstand. He's very good super management for how to manage a company, how to get profit, okay, how to get the GDP growth. He can do that. But this is not politics. Okay, economy and politics is different. Economy is even economy. Chinese just I gave you the book. The book tells that you don't chasing profit. You chasing for benevolence instead of profit. You just emphasize on benevolence and profit will follow. Not chasing profit. But Trump is always chasing profit.
Yes.
But it doesn't work well for people. He cannot establish the people relationship. He can just on building the people only chasing money organization at the global level, like Russian oligarchy, and they want to chasing money. Only chasing money people is to get together with him.
I think actually he really believes, and as well as his followers really believe that everything is kind of a zero-sum game. So that means whatever you win, I lose. So there's very clear idea. Okay, am I the winner or am I the loser? And he has been constantly painting this picture like under Obama we're losers because we make too many concessions.
Of course, he is just a long range plan. He don't have kind of long range planning. He does make investment for the people education. He don't like long range investment. He just only short sighted, like a real estate business. Buy this real estate and next year double up. Okay, I got the money.
Right.
Kind of approach. He just can't do that. It's not wrong. Okay, he's very good for doing business, at dealing business. So, but this is not good for political issues. Terrible. So, problem is nobody cannot influence him to change his mind. And just going next couple of years, 4 years, he can, not 8 years, just only 4 years. But he's good. He himself thinks, okay, 4 years good enough because he wants to get money, right? He's doing business now, and he has very strong connection at global level. It's good enough for him for 4 years presidency, and his family has got a lot of money and strong connection to Israel, and okay, he don't need to more 4 years. 4 years good enough to get money, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid
But many people lied by him. Intelligence knows that. But blue workers, they don't know. They cannot recognize he's a bad guy. Okay? And looks good. And if you read his book, Think Big, you want to think, oh, we had better follow him.
Really?
Yeah, he's very good, as speaker. Very well persuasive person, and also he's very family person. It's Apprentice TV show, and I saw that this is very good. He just looks very good leadership skill, looks like. Okay, very good leadership skill. So I like to follow him. But no. This is not kind of political issue. He's a core pillar of the objective, how to manage the country. He doesn't have nothing. So of course he does not know nothing about American history, or he never read a book, and
right.
he at his standpoint, he will say, I don't need to. Okay, I just my instinctive judgment is good enough.
Right.
I did success past several decades. Why I need to follow to the other people's opinion, or the other people writing books or anything else? I don't need to. Right? So looks
exactly like I should do that.
looks great, but this is a result supposedly terrible for the American nation, American people. So this is what I'm writing the book, and I'm going to finalize the next 2 weeks. It's very tough, but I get the result of who he is. But maybe none of many Japanese people, they don't recognize who he is. Because my material read in English-based YouTube, every YouTube, not article, YouTube. YouTube is very hot information they'll provide, or yesterday, tomorrow, or whatever they're going to prepare YouTube. So I've read through all of those, and especially looking for the long one, 1 hour, 1 hour 30 minutes. I discard several of those, but I pick up 1 or 2 or 3. And those long discussion is very good, like I told you. And Think Big is unfortunately I can't read it 8 hours, too long. So I just only read 10 minutes.
Maybe you can get the book.
No, I don't have time to read a book. If I'm going to read a book, I'm going to spend 20 hours. But I just listen to audio cassette. I just 8 hours, but I can't spend for 8 hours, right? Because I need to do a lot of things. I can't do that. Okay, Takashi is coming back.
All right. Takashi-san, we actually so we talked about the Roman Empire, East and West Roman Empire. We talked about last time about the movements of people, that the people that we see right now they are actually descendants of people that come from other parts. Like we see the Croats, they moved here, the Slovenes, they moved here, the Franks here, the Germans, they moved here, the Saxons, they moved here. So there has been a constant movement throughout history.
By the way, many British people, how come so many tribes in Britain?
How many?
Yeah, many Britain. They have many tribes there compared with Europe.
Right, there was.
Why so many people?
Well, they were not. They were not really united. It's just like.
It's like Greece and city town or like this kind of things.
Right. Yeah, more or less like a more agricultural society with small towns and not very developed.
Yeah, very brutal people, is it?
Well, yeah. But actually, that really was amplified when the Anglo-Saxon, the Anglos and Saxon came in. They're the
Well, this is for 80.
Vikings.
This is for 80, right? But even 120, 1200, 1300, those people, do you know what is their trade product is?
Vikings and stuff like that came to here.
No, Viking. 1300.
In 1300, what they were trading?
Yeah, what is two major trading to Muslim?
British? I don't know.
British and Europe. What is their major export items?
From Europe to the Muslims?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It says fa is one. Fa. Second, woman. White woman, they can sold to the Muslim countries very high expensive.
1300?
Yeah. Before Industrial Revolution. Until then, they are very poor. So they try to sell women. This is, I studied, I found it. At that time, those people had very strong power.
Right. Yeah, here.
Right? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Moors, no? Okay, we have the period of the Middle Ages. Literacy goes down. The church takes the central position. It's called the Dark Ages in Europe. There a lot of difficulties like famine, plague, the plague, war. A lot of people die, Black Death. But because of that, actually, there comes a kind of towards the end of the Middle Ages, we see a reversal in Europe. And there is a shortage of laborers, and that improves their situation. So wages go up, they get more rights. So after a long period of feudalism, which is different from during the Roman era. In the Roman era, people were more literate, and they also were more democratic. But in the Middle Ages, that was not the case. But towards the end of the Middle Ages, you see that the regular people get more and more power. Then the Renaissance, the period between 1300 and 1600.
Renaissance is it was for 300 years. Yeah. 300 years.
So scientifically, we talked about this. It's the era of knowledge. Basically, by gaining knowledge, by gaining understanding, we get closer to God, how God designed everything. So it's not really a challenge of whether God exists, but basically get to understand how nature, how everything works in the world around us is a way to get closer to God, because He is the designer of everything. Great progress in astronomy, physics, medicine, the Reformation, but more about the Reformation later.
But how about the political climate?
In the well, this is still very much.
Feudal.
So actually, this is a lot of the political climate is determined by that matrix, right? We have on the vertical axis we have the royal families, and on the horizontal axis we have the church. Yeah. And that there is also a lot of conflicts. We have the error reasoning, the origin, at Montesquieu, the three political bodies, separation of legislation, executive power, and judicial power. So basically, the police, the judicial system, and parliament.
They are?
So Montesquieu was the designer of that period of between 1600 and 1700, which became the basis of European, the way that we build our state.
Oh, really? It's Enlightenment year?
Yes.
You said they had executive suit and judiciary and legislation they have?
So, well, not everywhere, but that's the ideas for this political system were born in the period of Enlightenment.
Before Paris Revolution?
Before the French Revolution? Yep. Yeah. Then the first industrial revolution, and we were looking at this. We were actually almost halfway through. So, in this video,
the first industrial revolution after Napoleon.
After yes, this is after Napoleon, exactly. So this is the. This focuses on England. This is where the first industrial revolution starts to get a foothold. First of all, why in England is the question. What happened in England that made it so special? And I made like all these notes this morning, but I'm very annoyed by myself that I forgot to bring them.
But my simple question is, currently I discussed Israel, okay?
Right.
During the night, and find out 19th century,
right,
or 19th century.
Yeah, between 1800 and 1900.
Yeah, Balfour Declaration and sort of agreement the British government made with Jewish people,
right,
and also they made agreement with Saudi Arabian people, and British people, and also including French people, they are very much political. It means
yes,
they lied a lot. Okay, they made commitment for every people, but they don't believe they will do this.
Well, okay. That's not entirely fair. I think that yes, you're right. This is how it turned out, but it's also inherent into the system of succession and a limited time where we reign, because there is no absolute power even within the British Empire. What happens is that certain commitments can be reversed or can be withdrawn based on the situation, but usually more based on the time, because new rulers take place and they are left with promises that, for example, do not really coincide.
Like, for example, okay, the other way.
I don't think that there's always by design.
The other example I'm going to say. Currently I'm writing a book for the American democracy. And yesterday I studied American Indian.
Right.
American government, American military killed a lot of Indians. They told a lie. Okay? Their agreement, the commitment, make a negotiation,
Right.
ask them to the chiefs of India to meet with them and kill them. Okay? And they killed many villages, killed them all. Mutilation. Not kill, mutilation. Okay? And not only one case, many cases, American...
In India? When was this?
Yeah, American military killed India.
When?
18th century, 19th century.
American?
Yeah,
Not British?
no, American. After 1776, after independence.
176?
Mainly Lincoln ordered them to kill them all
176?
after independence. After independence, this is a problem.
Huh?
Yes.
But India became independent only in 19...
No,
what was
they
1960?
until they keep their
1960 something, no?
no.
Yeah.
They keep their location, and the problem occurs after independence, and many people moving to west. Do you remember?
Right,
Moving west.
Yeah.
At that time, caused problem. Military, they killed
Like
them.
Pakistan or
Killed them.
Bangladesh.
Yeah. And
But that's
our-
not American.
Yeah. Also, American did
American
war.
had nothing to do with that, also.
You did. I didn't know that. I studied yesterday. And then also they did Mexico-American War. Mexico-American War later that. At that time also they didn't give they accepted Mexican people as give them American nationality.
But that is
Texas.
completely different era now.
Texas, okay.
But that is during
After independence, after Louisiana purchase.
yeah, but that is completely different era now, because the independence of India
No.
or Indians.
Yeah.
You're
India,
talking about
no,
Indians,
no.
not India.
No, India.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So Native Americans.
Native Americans.
Oh, okay. I thought, huh? I completely like what?
Native American.
Okay. Indians. Right.
Kill them all.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
This is what American did, okay? And also they invaded the Philippines and the father of MacArthur, okay? And also they killed them Philippine people, many. The same thing happened in the Europe, okay?
Yeah, because basically all the Americans, they were just
No,
descendants of
I'm talking
Europeans.
about Europe is the British and French,
Right.
and America is the American people.
Right, but at that time they were mostly
Same age.
Yeah, but
This is why they happened like colonialism.
But the people who Americans at that time, when the period that you're describing right now, they were mostly immigrants. First immigrants coming directly from Europe. So the Americans at that day and age, they were still Europeans, more or less, no?
No, not that time. It is already getting to the 19th century. This is already
About 1800.
People is established.
Around 1800.
Yeah, established already. Independent 1776. So after 100 years later, already American people established. After purchasing Louisiana purchase.
When was the war?
when they killed
With Mexico.
Indian killed 1860.
1860.
Yeah, and they Texas. At that time, problem.
That's
At Texas, okay, they get Texas from Mexico, and the American government accepted Mexican people in Texas as an American nationality. But at that time, also they have a lot of Indian there,
right.
but they didn't give them American nationality.
Right.
So racism is existed.
Right.
Black people and Indian people discriminated. So they killed a lot of people in India. And but killing way is
95% of the 95% of Native Americans were
killing approach is an exceptional like it's massacre type massacre. Kill all village and mutilated everybody, child, woman, kill them all. And but Indian people, majority people is they try to expect peaceful agreement. Okay, not Belgians. Some people is Sioux, but some people, Belgian people, they did. But many chief of India they try to expect for peaceful agreement with American military, American government, and they compromised to occupy the American people into their territory, they accepted, but American military neglected to kill them all. This is in the history, okay? And this is same thing happened for European people, the same age, same time. British, French did for Middle East. So this is my simple question. And
what's the question?
Yeah.
What is the question?
They lied, local people. Okay, by including Jews in Israel. And Middle East, and do you remember Sykes-Picot? This is exactly typical case. They try to
No, but what I believe Sykes-Picot is,
and also,
was,
but also
but it's too simple
Israel,
to say they lied. It's not just lying. It's also because they created a situation that could not be fixed anymore because they made promises that were not mutually exclusive.
This may be intrigue instead of intrigue,
but also like making concessions, making promises to one person, but then actually that not realizing or ignoring the fact that the promises to one people actually affect other people. So things under the Balfour treatment actually ignored the rights of the indigenous people that were actually living there.
Not a lie. Just Sykes-Picot cases, they try to give them turmoil.
Right.
Okay, they are intrigue. Actually, they do not expect stable.
Yeah, and even that, it's probably
for example,
difficult.
Israel cases, if Palestinian people supporting to beating Ottoman Empire, they're going to make commitment for their independence. And also the British also made a Balfour Declaration. This is a Jewish senator member in Britain, and Balfour is made an agreement with Rothschild, and the British senator. He's one of the most respected person in Britain, and he get support, financial support from Rothschild for war. So they made a Balfour Declaration. But Balfour Declaration and also commitment for the Palestinian people against Ottoman Empire, this is a discrepancy they have. Okay.
So I think that's more of the problem, because basically you can say, okay, but Sykes-Picot is designed to destabilize the Middle East, which might or might not be true, but actually look at it from the perspective at that time. You could also argue that basically they tried to bring independence, but there were so many interests there that they had to make a kind of like, biblically speaking, it's the Democles ruling, which means that basically it was impossible to unite and to unite everybody's interest and come up with a solution that would work for everybody. So they had to make some certain kinds of decisions. Okay, we're just going to do that, and if we are going to keep on negotiating this, then it will not get anywhere. So our primary interest is to bring actually bring independence there for everybody in the Middle East, and that's how they drew up the map. But it was a very unfortunate and bad decision that they made in the way that they did it completely. But it's too easy to say, well, by design they drew it up and designed it in a way that the Middle East would always be unstable. I don't think people at that time who were involved in this were sufficiently smart enough to anticipate that.
American involved in Middle East reason is very simple. They don't want to be stable.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, but
this is the same
but that's not by design. But that's what happened actually.
Century. No. Actually, America intentionally expected to be.
Yeah, but I don't think that Sykes-Picot at that time was already designed to keep it unstable. I doubt it. Maybe to keep influence, but I don't think they envisioned it. But it turned out to be unstable, and America thought, oh, this is unstable. This is in our best interest, so they kept it that way. I doubt whether it was designed to be unstable.
Because one there the French and the British, at that time is colonialism.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the last portion of colonialism. What they did on colonialism in Africa, it's a very similar way.
Yeah, but basically they were going to lose it, right?
No. French is not just still keep their asset in Africa.
Yeah, no, in Africa. I'm talking about Middle East.
French?
Yeah, so
No. French. For example, one example, Libya. Okay.
Right.
Why they try to kill Gaddafi, and French try to keep their oil base.
Right. You know.
In Libya. So
No question about that.
Still, French British is sticking to that how to get their money from Middle East. Still.
Right.
Looking for the opportunity. So not only that.
Why did they keep, for example, the Shah of Persia
exactly.
in place? That was to basically keep influence, but they came from a situation where they actually had to retreat or they used the Arabs to defeat the Ottoman Empire, so they needed to give them something. And there, definitely, they lied, and they made promises, or they made promises they couldn't keep. But that was the person who made the lie didn't have the authority to actually make those promises, and that's why you can say the British lied, but the British played a very opportunistic politics.
What always my observation for British and French is they belligerence to invasion until now. American is also very similar characteristic they have, right? But China is different. China is not invasion. China believes the world is mine, right?
Don't need to invade,
right? Thinking about it, China is center of the world. And
I'm not, with the exception.
What I'm talking about, I wanted to say the Japanese people characteristics. Japanese people characteristics is just Confucius aspect is different. Originally they are people, they don't have kind of British or French people mindset to kind of invasion.
But how do you explain Korea, Taiwan, Manchuria, Indonesia, Philippines? How do you explain that?
Oh, that is actually the invasion actually happened in China. And China is actually Japanese military invaded. The other countries, they no battle.
Right. But still invaded and occupied.
But not. Their thinking is different. Not invasion. They try to cooperate, unify. Japanese people thinking mindset, but military is different, right? Military, but Japanese characteristic is different.
But why did Japan go to war?
Oh, this is a big question. They just, as you know, they're going to Singapore, they're going to Manila,
Right.
they're going to Malay.
Why?
And why? Indonesia? They are poor, the same level of local people.
No, but why did they go?
They just unwillingly to start the battle.
Yeah, but with what purpose?
Because they have like a kind of North Korea. There is heavy economic sanction. They couldn't survive. At that time, they should give up Manchuria. Okay? At that time, if they're going to discard everything outside Japan, they don't need to start war. But at that time, military opinion was so strong. And as you know, the Japanese people, bad characteristics is they always blind outside Japan, like now. They don't know outside overseas opinions what's going to be. So believed it's military headquarters opinion. So Japanese people misled by military. This is history, and actually, my observation is currently now is the same. do you know or not, Nikkei newspaper is very limited information. And what kind of happening overseas, nobody, Japanese people, they don't know. And before World War II, is more serious situation, they don't know. So my responsibility, we want to spread the information all over the world. That's the reason I'm doing in school, because many people, they don't know. This is a problem. Always Japanese, usually population will support government. They're going to do anything, start waging war, everything. But Japanese people, they don't know that. If the current situation will go on, next 20 years, Japanese are going to start another war. Because people, they don't know what the outside Japan people, what they're thinking about Japanese people. Right? So this sort of things, it's different. Japanese people usually, they don't have a mindset for invasion concept. They don't have. But China is actually invaded. Okay, and so strong. China is so strong. So Japan invaded, and any other country, they didn't invade. They just war is very short time period, only 1 month or couple months, right? As you know. And also, do you know that Japanese soldiers so poor? And their barrack is the same as local people. Food is in some cases worse than local people. Clothes is very bad. But British soldiers and American soldiers is the local people. They just those people, they don't think those people are human beings, right? And so different. Eat very nice food and good barracks. But Japanese soldiers very poor. It means local people. That's the reason why after World War II they tried to make independence. That's a big reason. Because how come those poor people can win British soldiers? Why not they themselves? That's the reason, the big reason. So it means kind of so poor people. Why are they going to make a decision going to waging war? It's crazy. This is because the military team people is concealed for Japanese population. They didn't tell them the truth. Do you remember Vietnam War?
Yeah.
And Teto. At that time, everybody owned TV. So at the Tet date, everybody watch online news. Then they recognize, oh, we are defeated. Before that prayer day, they thought military tell them we won. Right? After Teto, American people recognize we lose. That's the reason. Okay, we just stop war. That's the reason Nixon. Okay, they knew not Nixon. But anyway, Johnson.
Johnson made the peace.
Then the people against war, they stop war. And so that at that time they understand, but World War II era they don't understand, no information. Even that now Japanese cases problem is, American people can understand English, so Vietnam War, what happened, immediately reporting from Vietnam to America, so they get to know that. But now is still like some cases Afghanistan, some other Afghanistan, right?
Right. That's good.
Right?
That's great. Do you feel it? Jishin.
You see?
Oh, small.
Okay, by the way, going to finish here. I stop it.
Okay. Right. So, what did we discuss in so far? What we saw is that actually one of the reasons what triggered the Industrial Revolution in England was the availability of coal. Up until then, they've been using wood, but wood was not so potent as a fuel, and furthermore, it was also rather expensive. So the coal was 3 times more potent, and it was actually very easily available. Wood had to travel much further to get into the towns and whatever. So coal was discovered as a new fuel. But there were problems. One of them was that these coal mines, that in order to be excavated, they needed to keep them dry. And in order to do that, they had created these pumps that would enable them to keep these mines dry. But they were using horses for that to begin with. And these horses had a certain power, but that power only allowed them to go down about maximum of 30 meters. But there were still a lot of coals that were available deeper down. So the one who was capable of actually excavating coals at a deeper level, they were capable of making a lot of money. So there started this kind of a race to build a machine that was potent enough to actually excavate coals at a deeper depth. This is where James Watt comes in. He's the inventor of the steam engine. So the steam engine was actually designed to empty to power the pumps to keep the coal mines dry, and was more or less a collaboration between science and and money. That machine basically makes mining more easy. Then there comes an era in England where fundamental science meets entrepreneurs in societies everywhere in England. Scientists meet with entrepreneurs, and they in the so-called I think it was moonlight groups, I think they were called, and they freely discuss scientific discoveries and how they can be applied to real-world problems. This actually leads to a lot of discoveries. Come up with the first factories that come up, and then there is also the matter of Parliament. Parliament in England was different from Parliament or the power that way France had organized. In England, Parliament was very helpful because they felt it is their duty, their obligation, their goal to speed up the Industrial Revolution, to bring wealth to England. Whereas in France, for example, it was very much centralized and very much not very much conducive to grow and spread. There was this scientific body that regulated everything, and that really slowed things down, and that's why France actually developed much slower than England. Part of the reason was the parliamentary system. Infrastructure also plays an important role, where infrastructure projects were not so much started and ignited from the government, but much more from entrepreneurs. They have an interest in infrastructure, and they are the ones who are petitioning, who are lobbying to actually develop roads, develop waterways, as we will see in the video today. All right, so what we are here, actually, this is another element that I didn't mention. This is about colonialism, and another factor that helped England to become the source of or the origin of the first industrial revolution. Because of the profits that were made overseas, England had a very big fleet and were dominant on the seas, and that helped them to become the most powerful country in the world. They were making a lot of money overseas. So it is, the Industrial Revolution is not just an industrial revolution. It's a collaboration
First
of cause and effect.
consumer revolution was happened. They are making canal.
So first, no, before that, they had the fortunate situation that there were coals were widely available. And coals were actually they were much more potent fuel than wood, and much easier and cheaper to bring to market than wood. Then that meant that coal actually was very profitable to mine. But since they did not have the technology to mine below a certain level, there were a lot of coals that they could not mine. So then the next question was, okay, how can we bring up a solution for that? Because whoever was capable of doing that would be capable of making a lot of money. So that resulted in the steam engine, and the steam engine was actually powered by the coals that were dug from the mine. Then they also had a system where the power of the royal family was limited relative to other countries in Europe. There was much more power in Parliament in England compared, for example, to France and to other countries in Europe. And Parliament was very much inclined to speeding up this industrial revolution because it gave them opportunity. Another important factor is that science actually met with business. And on top of that, we had the influence of the colonialization and the money that was made overseas. So we had capital, we had science, we had liberty of thinking, and the business world that was basically driving Parliament. So that put together started all these wheels started to turn. Then, of course, that was a matter of, okay, how are we going to support? Because we can create things, but if we don't create a market, then we are nowhere. So that actually started to trigger the movement where people started to think about marketing and sales and how we are going to create a desire for the products that we are producing, and so that started with Wedgwood and other entrepreneurs, and marketing became a kind of a field that triggered consumption demand, and that.
By the way, Wedgwood is not not related to industrial revolution, right? Wedgwood is handmade.
Handmade, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why is they showing that?
Well, basically, it was entrepreneurs like Westwood that. So industrial revolution, it created more efficiency. It made it possible. We saw that last week when we were looking at the video, or 2 weeks ago, that actually a lot of goods were created. But how would they? How were they to find a market for it? Now, Wedgwood was very ingenious in terms of, okay, he saw an opportunity. He wanted to sell more of his pots, and he came up with ways to actually whet the appetite of the average person, because he realized that it's not only about the product but also about the story behind the product. He made pots that were also used by the queen and by other nobility, and if that were true, if it was good enough for the queen and good enough for other nobility, then other people who had money would follow suit, because they would like to have access to the same products that were used by queens that everybody aspired to. So this started a movement of marketing. That started a movement of consumerism. This is not so much about industrialization, but more about whatever facilitated industrialization is actually consumerism, because without a final consumer, industrialization will not thrive. And another thing is that the case of Wedgwood was also that it showed that like, for example, infrastructure like roads, but later on also canals, were initiated by the entrepreneurs, not by the state. So it was not focused on military about geopolitics, but more on based on economic opportunity. So it is this mindset, the political system, the consumer market, the role of science, everything comes together to create this industrial revolution. It's not simply invention of machinery and applying this to create factories. It's much more than that.
There is some what does last message means made by him, saying that we are in a shadow, made by those who achieved this revolution.
So his last message, I believe that basically there was a new awareness that up until then in England, people succeeded to do what their parents had done, their great-parents have done, and their great-great-parents had done before them. So if you were a farmer, if you were born in a farmer family, then it was extremely likely that you would become a farmer too, because there was social immobility. But Industrial Revolution changed all that because they created employment in the factories. So that was something that had never happened before. People could move to the cities. They created opportunities for people to become for entrepreneurship. So this actually changed the way that England thought of itself. They defined themselves by the shadows of the past, by what their parents and great-grandparents had done before them, and gave people the opportunity to more or less decide their own walk of life. So they changed from a backward-looking society to a forward-looking society.
So it's a positive message, or
it's a positive message. Yes.
Positive.
Yes.
Positive.
Yes, it's a positive message. So basically, there was very much immobility before that. Of course, I mean, it's not true. Maybe people were perfectly happy to do exactly what their parents did before them. If your father was a teacher, then you would become a teacher. If your father was a farmer, you would become a farmer. Maybe that was okay for other people, but there was very little choice, because that's basically all the options you had. Everything was decided by what you did, what your parents did, and that changed. And like England specifically, has always been a very much class-oriented society. There was very little mobility between the classes. There was a very a big awareness, but so that was kind of a revolution. That the Industrial Revolution also changed society and its DNA basically in England.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just because the words of the shadow gives me sometimes the expression of being negative.
Right. So basically, people grew up from the shadow of their past, and they actually moved away from that towards an orientation and where people can determine their being on what they want to be in the future instead of the shadows of the past.
Ah, okay.
Right. So the shadows was actually also intended to be negative, but what the presenter wanted to emphasize that basically they threw up they threw off the shadows of the past and became more free to determine their own future.
I see. Okay.
What do you mean shadow? What does it mean?
The shadows of the past, that's what I meant. So your existence is determined by your past, by what your father is doing, what your great-grandfather has been doing. That would always, basically, if your father was a potter, you would become a potter. If your father was a farmer, you would become a farmer. And your children would also become farmers. Right? So basically there was very little choice that you had in life. It was just how you were born, and that's how you would die. That all changed because of the Industrial Revolution.
Which other issues do we still have?
Actually, the next one, so from the Industrial Revolution, I would like to move on to colonialization and decolonialization of Europe. Then Christianity, roots of Christianity and the Catholic Church and Reformation, and World War One, maybe World War II, and then move on to philosophy.
So many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, or would you like
okay.
to?
Okay.
Okay.
Finish?
Finished
Okay.
for today.
Takashi, today finish. Do you have any opinion?
Okay, just a minute. Yeah, question and
Okay. So, that's good.